Okay, just doing a real quick one today. I just ran out of time today. Ended up buying a new car today, so that took forever in today, like it always does. So I mowed yesterday anyways. I was only really wanting to come on and do a live today because, I got a comment, and, I appreciate people that comment. Hold on, I'm messing up here. So just trying to get my feed going here because it's not going. All right, got it. Man, I wasn't really prepared to do a live today, but like I was trying to say. So I got a comment about the use of urea, and I was doing a lot of research on it because, I always talk about how urea will help you raise the pH in your soil. And the comment was that it was basically a temporary raise in soil pH, which is true. It does. I went back and I looked at the research that I was looking at on it, and I revisited the whole situation to understand it more. Because, sometimes when I listen to research topics, I usually listen to them a couple of times, and I get the information while I'm, in the middle of doing something, like I'm driving or something like that. And I'm just listening to it. And sometimes I don't hear everything. And so, yeah, it is true. But here's where I came to the process of how it will help raise your pH. Because first of all, if you use ammonium sulfate is definitely going to kill your pH. It acidifies your soil. Ammonium sulfate, because of the ammonium, it's not because of the sulfate, it's because of the ammonium. And that's a whole nother topic of talking about sulfate and sulfur. Not the same thing. Sulfur will lower your pH, but sulfate will not lower your pH. Ammonium sulfate lowers your pH because it's got ammonium in it. Now, I've talked about how how the urea raises your pH. So, and going back on it, I'm a spoon feeder. I feed very little, nitrogen at a time, and I use urea. And my big thing is I don't want to lower my soil pH. My soil pH has gone up, and I can attribute it probably to a couple of things. Aside from using urea, and urea is basically helping prevent my soil from dropping anymore because I'm not using the ammonium sulfate. Now, I talked about how nitrogen is a very tough nutrient to measure in your soil, and the reason why it's tough to measure in your soil is because it's always changing forms. And here's where I'm going to get to the point about urea and what it does. So nitrogen, when it originally hits your soil, it's going to raise the pH temporarily, but it's going to raise the pH in your soil because it's going to create ammonium, which is going to lower your pH. But when it first hits your soil, it's going to raise the pH basically at the root tips, and then it's going to convert into ammonium over time, and then that ammonium, through microbial and bacterial activity in the soil, is going to actually turn it into nitrate, which nitrate is then going to help raise the soil, your pH at the root tips and in your soil. And the way that you can utilize this to raise your pH in your soil is by small doses. Like I always talk about, every 2 weeks, about a quarter of a pound, something like that, adding to your soil. Because if you're adding to your soil, a quarter of a pound of nitrogen every, 2 weeks for say 6 months or whatever during your growing season, what's going to happen is you're over 6 months, you're going to times that. So that's basically 3 pounds of nitrogen you're going to be adding. So even if you added it seven months out of the year, a quarter pound every 2 weeks, you're still looking at about 4 pounds of nitrogen. And urea nitrogen is going to basically, it's going to basically evaporate, be utilized out of the soil. It's not going to be available. And so that's why adding it every 2 weeks, you're going to continually add that nitrogen source to your soil. Your plant's going to be able to uptake it, and then it's basically going to be gone. But if you continually kind of add that soil or that nitrogen on top of your, as it's going away, you're going to create that cycle again where it helps raise the soil in your pH in your soil. And that's what's going to kind of over time, and like I say, very, very slowly, it can and it probably will raise the pH in your soil. And there's a study that I was looking at regarding it. And the one thing that they said is, they basically just said over time, it's going to, the pH, the soil, the pH by using urea is going to decrease. The pH is going to decrease in the soil over time. They didn't really say, increase over time and then slowly decrease. And it really wasn't clear or really set up as to how much time we're talking about that it's going to be utilized or dissipate. And just doing some more research and kind of going through everything, I kind of came back to why it is that I'm doing the quarter pound every 2 weeks and how that's helping the soil and the pH. But the biggest thing is not using ammonium sulfate, and all that ammonium in your soil is not decreasing your pH. And I've talked about, I'd like to have my pH in the mid 6s because moss is my basic thing that I'm trying to keep away from happening. And I think I've been pretty successful at it because this is the program I've been on for about 3 years now. I've had this, I redid my lawn, I think it was 4 years ago, something like that. I think it was in 22. And moss was my big problem. I constantly was having to redo my lawn because of moss. And this is just one of the things I learned that can kind of help you do it. On top of that, our pH of our water is going to affect the soil pH as well. Because if you're constantly adding a high pH water, and I've tested our water here. I was going to do it today. I was going to do this whole thing. I was going to do soil tests and everything like that to check pH to see where I'm at. Because, just going back and researching and looking through all this stuff on urea, made me really think of, how is it I was able to get my pH up? Was it just not using ammonium sulfate anymore? Because that's all I ever used for the longest time was ammonium sulfate. And I just didn't realize that was what was kind of making my pH be low or lower in my soil. It wasn't that my grass was growing terrible. There wasn't no issue with the lower pH. It was just the moss. And the moss has been the thing I was trying to deal with. So maybe next week I'm going to try to get to doing some soil tests, but I just got another job that I'm doing. I just got it like on Thursday, and I didn't really want to do another job, but it's kind of small. So I just went ahead and priced it out, and the guy was, good with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I have my buddy Jason over there doing a lot of work, and I'm basically paying him to do the job. I'm going to help him, but I am doing 2 putting greens over there, and that's kind of something I like to do and I wanted to do. So I'll do another progress video on that. I'm kind of working on the video progress of the other project that I did, 6,000 square feet. It actually is looking pretty amazing. I did a 14-day picture today, and it looks really, really good. So I'm actually looking forward to the outcome of that in the next week or so. So that's kind of what's going on there. But I really do want to test my soil. I want to see where the soil pH is. I'm just really more happy that my soil is not in the mid 5s and it's in the mid 6s. And I'm just really happy that I don't have moss. So that's just kind of my look at reviewing the comment that I got about urea. And, you know, I totally can be wrong about a lot of things. The research that I look into and that I read on, you know, maybe sometimes I'll take the benefit of the doubt of the research. You know, like I'm saying, you know, they say over time the pH will slowly decrease. You know, I don't know. I don't remember hearing that. I only remember ever hearing that urea will raise the pH in your soil. And because it's doing it temporarily, you can, you know, I just wanted to show you how you can work with the urea to help. I mean, you can use lime, of course, always. You know, that's just another thing you got to add to your yard. But lime is just as slow. It seems like, you know, urea is going to be, you know, slow too. But I think my big thing was just knocking out doing the ammonium sulfate, because ammonium is definitely going to lower the pH in your soil. So that covers that. That was just kind of what my main thing I wanted to come on and kind of talk about, was just kind of clarify that whole urea thing, because I know some people out there, might take it in the wrong manner. I mean, literally, I foliar spray all of my nitrogen and iron. So generally speaking, because I do foliar spray, I'm not even really affecting the soil. It's only when you apply it directly to the soil, urea, that this is going to happen. When you do a foliar application, it doesn't affect the soil the same way as if you were to apply it directly on the ground. Now, I do occasionally apply urea to the soil in granular form. Like when I'm just out of time or it's raining or something like that, I'll apply a light dose of it, but I never apply it to my putting green that way, because you just can't apply urea. So, you know, that's the other just big thing, is that urea nitrogen by far is the cheapest method of greening your lawn with a ferrous sulfate heptahydrate. Those two products right there, I did the math on it, and it came out to 64 cents per 1,000 square feet. That's not a joke, that's not a lie. I double checked my math. A bag of urea, 50 pounds. My last bag I got for $29. A bag of ferrous sulfate heptahydrate powder, which you just mix in water. Just like the urea, you can do the same thing, mix it in water. It was mow last week. So because I didn't mow last week, it was extremely long. My grass was extremely long. I was trying to get a video together of my mow yesterday, just so you can kind of see where I was and see, you know, just, you know, where the lawn's at. And coming back from the winter, because the Kentucky bluegrass, you know, it just always thins out in the wintertime. It's just what it does. And another thing, you know, I comment about a lot of things that people talk about on YouTube videos and lawn care. And, you know, I don't comment on it so much, and I'm not trying to hate on people as much as I'm just trying to, you know, let people know what things are important and aren't so important. I mean, you know, everybody's allowed, you guys, anybody can go and do whatever they want to their lawn. If you want to kill your lawn, whatever. My biggest thing is about being responsible. Responsibly taking care of your yard. And it's not because I'm this big environmental, you know, guy that's, you know, saying, hey, you know, don't apply this because that's going to kill the world and kill everything. That's not my whole thing. My whole thing about being responsible as a homeowner and applying nutrients is I don't want that taken away from me because a bunch of people on YouTube are telling you to use a bunch of products that are, you know, could be illegal to use in your state, or highly restricted, highly regulated. Well, let me just say that, you know, so you've got to know, you know, if you're in Maryland, you know, that you can't apply phosphorus. There's a lot of states like that that have, you know, restrictions, but the biggest thing is the problem that it creates in the environment that are visible in that product, to just doing all these things that, you know, it's fine that they're doing them, and some of these products are going to work great for you, but I just did a whole 6,000, you know, square foot reseed. Every reseeding job I've ever done, I have never used a starter fertilizer. Never. I've never tested the soils. Never. You know, because this whole thing about phosphorus and, you know, what it does, you know, it's going to bring me into another research project and another topic that I don't have time to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and do a mow real quick just to kind of show you the putting green and a kind of a look at what's going on over here. I know the sun's out pointing in this direction, so maybe I'll do put this camera over here. Let's see. So I really kind of wanted to do a more in-depth live today because I doing some new things like I'm always doing, and I got just a few cameras set up today. I'm not going in the backyard. I'm not doing anything. So I was mentioning I did my putting green at about 5 millimeters. That's weird. Got a bunch of smoke coming out of the exhaust here. Never had that happen before. I wonder if it was because when I had the mower tilted back. I've never had that actually happen before though. Kind of weird. I'm just gonna do my mow. Because I really want to get this cut down. Crazy. I'm really more looking at cutting down the outside edges of my putting green here. Really just want to get it into the 2 millimeter range. I was going to show, maybe I'll show after I'm done here before I got to go. You know, the areas that I cut last week, you know, it basically scalped down because they were, I was cutting it at 6 before. So I'm just doing a couple passes here on the outside edge. So I had put my, I set the cutting height to 2.5. It's actually about 2.4 right now. 2.4 millimeters. And we had a bunch of rain come in for a couple of days, so it was kind of, been kind of wet. So this is actually cutting pretty good for being where it was. It was definitely at 5.5 millimeters earlier. And I've always talked about how the putting green recovers quickly. And, you know, Monday, after I had mowed, where I had scalped the outside edges, the areas that I cut really low turned really brown. And as soon as I'm done on here, it's going to just take me a minute. I need to turn off putting green. I keep doing that. So I had a couple of topics I was going to talk about today, but you know, I'm just going to leave it at a low on the putting green. I think I have two cameras that are set up that should have a pretty stable shot. They shouldn't get choppy. That's that camera and this camera. My other camera is 100% wireless. And it tends to have, you know, cut in and out, get a little choppy or whatever, for whatever reason. So I've just been working on doing all kinds of different things live. Like I say, I really wanted to set up my other cameras that I have going, bought some other equipment, and I want to test it out. I went a little far on my cut over here on the putting green. I don't like to do the live modes this late in the afternoon because of shadows. I mean, I like to do it when the sun's out, it's bright. You know, although it doesn't really give that great portrayal of how green the grass is, I like it just because you can see everything. I hate watching YouTube videos where the video is so dark you can't see it. You can't see what's going on. You can barely see the guy's face that's talking. It drives me nuts. You know? I like to see what's going on. You know, to me, the biggest thing is you add nitrogen, you add iron to your lawn, it's going to get green. There's just no doubt about it. There's just nothing else that's going to make your yard, your grass turn green. And that's just the biggest thing that, you know, people talk about out there. Is how, you know, sometimes they say it, sometimes they just leave it to your own imagination, you know, to think, you know, oh, hey, this guy's using this product, it's making his grass really green. So that must be what makes his grass green. That's not it at all. You know, if you're following a channel and you're using products that they tell you to use because that's what makes their grass green, huge fallacy, bandwagon. You know, that's one of the things, you know, I want to talk about too, is these fallacies, how everybody thinks, you know, how these products are working. You know, understanding what products and what nutrients in a product are doing is more important than just copying some guy because he uses this brand, or copying some other guy because he uses this brand. The area that I come from in learning this stuff is what can I do for the least amount of money to have my grass look as good as possible. And I don't even care about green. I care about just a nice, healthy stand of grass. You know, I grow this bent grass. And bent grass is never going to get dark. It's never going to get deep dark green. In its description, it says it's a light green color. It's not Kentucky bluegrass. But you know, my Kentucky bluegrass, it gets really nice and green. So, whatever. It's all good. I'm only looking to help the people who are open-minded enough to look in and understand. I mean, I was very welcoming of the gentleman that commented to me about the urea. I'm not afraid to be wrong. I'm not afraid to be corrected. So I need to hope that I can mow this a couple more times this week. So I'm going to try to put the camera down here, and I'm just going to do a quick, just going to do a couple of putts here. And maybe you guys will be able to get an idea of, you know, what we're looking at on the roll. See here. Let me see if I can just do this view right here. And then I'll take my camera off and I'll show you real quick, and then I'm going to shut everything down. It's just going to be a real quick go around here. Oops. Oh, go in. Look at that. First shot in the hole. See, my mower's way over here. Hey, Kathy. you want me to come over?
You want a couple yucca plants?
No. No, thank you. Thank you, though. No. Sorry. But your grass is looking great. Oh, I could put it on a different view here too. Make you see all three views. How's that? And then we'll just call it. I think I got that set up okay. Kathy. Everybody pets my lawn right. I have caught a few people doing that though. It's kind of funny. It's funny how people that walk by and you see you out working the yard and they just kind of keep walking straight, and then the next day you see them walking by, you're sitting in the living room and you see them, you see them kneel down and touch the grass or whatever. It's kind of funny. It's funny how people are afraid to walk on it. I'm like, this grass is made for walking on. What are you talking about? Take your shoes off. It feels great, especially bent grass. It feels so good on your feet. All right, let me see if I can just get one of these cameras down here. You know, yeah, my big thing is about Lomo. It's just kind of something I've always wanted to do. Let me get out of the... Let me put it on this camera view. The camera's gonna fall. Let's do this. Sorry about that. My cord is stuck. So that's how it looks. See, I don't know how well you can see how well that focuses in there. The grass around the hole needs to be cut. But that's what we're looking at here. 2.5 millimeters right now. I'm going to get it down to 2 next weekend. I'm going to rake it and get some of this. See, there's a bunch of grass, and I did. Look at that. There's a straggler right there. I did get the lawnmower out yesterday, the rotary, the Honda, and I vacuumed up the grass because it was so long. But this you know, McLean greenskeeper, it is not a total professional greenskeeper. It's always cut mediocre. I think if I sharpen the blades a little bit, I'd concentrate a little bit more on the mow. I mean, I think you can see here how good it looks. I mean, it does a really nice cut, you know, as far as to put on, everything like that. It's pretty good. So anyways, that's what I got. This was the outcome of my mow the other day. Hold on, sun beating down on it. I don't know why it is not focusing. There it goes. So I could do one of these. It's just so bright out. Sun came out and just hammered us. It's been right, well, I guess if I do this, it might stay up. Okay, well, I guess I'll just call it right there for Mo. And it's just kind of what I wanted to talk about. I got to go over this guy's house and I got to spray for some weeds for this job I'm doing. So, well, I'll be back next week and I'll have another live, just because that's what I do. All right, that's it for my yard.